I am the Viking of energy. Welcome to CC Writes. My name is CC Lepke, and today I'm going deep into some Marvel lore. In my last video, I finished up a brainstorming session for my Spider-Woman script. Now I'm getting into the next step of the writing process, research. You might ask why I didn't do research before the brainstorming process, and I actually have a very good reason for that. I didn't feel like it. Welcome to CC Land. For my research, I'm going to look into a few key things. Spider-Woman's personal history and powers, the timeline of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, technology and lore of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and geographic and cultural elements in the real world where I plan to have the story set. Each of these elements will help me decide on a solid plot and help me fuse my story into the larger Marvel Cinematic Universe. Typically, I put all of my research into an organized spreadsheet that I can refer to throughout the writing process. So I'll show you how I organize that as well. And once I'm done with all of the research, we can finally get to my favorite part of the story writing process, plotting. I'm so excited that you decided to join me today in my writing adventures in imaginary places. Let's get started. So I set up my spreadsheet with different tabs for the different aspect that I'm looking into for this story, with all of the different categories that I talked about, as well as a couple of others I thought of as I was going through and picking out what I wanted to research about. And I also pulled up a few basic tabs that I found on the internet real quick. I haven't looked at any of them yet, and we'll just go through them together and see what we can find out about Spider-Woman. So the first place I'm going to go is the premier place that any expert web researcher will go for research, Wikipedia. And her name is hyphenated, and that is good to know. That's how I keep writing it, but I wasn't entirely sure, so hyphenated. Okay, so she's been several characters. The first was Jessica Drew, and the second was Julia Carpenter. Those are very white-sounding names. Oh yeah, and in the publication history here, it's showing Stan Lee talking about what I had talked about during the brainstorming session, and that is that she was basically created because they didn't want some other company to get a hold of the Spider-Woman name. Okay, so she's worked as a private investigator in the past. Oh, she had her own animated TV series. I did not know that. Okay, Maddie Franklin, she started off by imitating Spider-Man, so she's not one that I'll look into for this because I want this to be an older person than Spider-Man in this series. Charlotte Witter used the Spider-Woman name but was a supervillain. I actually kind of like that. Maybe Charlotte Witter Ferengi? Shape-shifting extraterrestrial race, the Skrulls. Okay, so she just impersonated Jessica Drew, so I'm not going to use her either. Helen Goddard, non-superpowered. And Ashley Barton sure is interesting. Allied herself with Punisher and Daredevil. Not Spider-Woman, Spider B-word, so not quite the same. Goodness gracious, Marvel is weird. Joan Van Ark is a really cool name. Julia Carpenter version of Spider-Woman appeared in the Iron Man animated series regularly, it looks like. So that's interesting. So that does have some crossover with the MCU. They have a connection there. A lot of references. Okay, so let's see what else I can find out about Spider-Woman. Specifically, Jessica Drew is the one I'm going to look into first. Oh, it's that one with the weird little frilly squirrel suit. She had 50 issues of an ongoing series titled Spider-Woman, and at its conclusion she was killed. And even though she was later resurrected, she fell into disuse, which, you know, tells me even more that this woman deserves more than what she's getting. Character was originally designed by Archie Goodwin. Oh, origin and basic character designed by Archie Goodwin, and then visual was by freelancer Maurice Severin. So it looks like when she was originally created, people liked it and it sold unexpectedly well, even though she was just supposed to be a one-off character, and that's why she ended up getting an ongoing series. So her first appearance, she was supposed to be an actual spider evolved into a human. That is so funny. And then her debut was followed by a 4-issue story arc where a different origin story retconned the spider evolution because her original origin was too implausible for mid-1970s readers, or anyone, really. I would say that would definitely be too implausible for anyone. Hopefully. Oh, her name comes from Nancy Drew. So originally supposed to be kind of an homage to a detective, had memories of being a spider implanted into her by the terrorist group Hydra. So that's the connection in my head that I made to Hydra. Long hair uncovered is a prominent part of the character's appearance, and I do like that. I wanted that to be a part of the way that the character looked in my story as well, so that's nice. So she had Charles Magnus is her mentor in her history. Morgan Le Fay and Brothers Grimm are her nemesis. And then Wolfman, of course. I don't know who Wolfman is. I'm definitely gonna have to look that up. Oh, no, wait. Oh, Wolfman. I'm dumb. So Wolfman, the original writer of her series, ended up leaving after issue number 8 because he didn't feel comfortable writing her. Yeah. So it looks like macabre themes are used in her stories from the beginning. Social awkwardness, which is something that I was planning to have in there anyway, so that's good. Shy. Okay, negative reaction she produced to nearly everyone she met. So yeah, that makes sense to me. I'm starting to remember where I got some of the information that I had about this, because I remembered that. Negative. Oh, and she does have fear-inducing pheromones. Okay, I was wondering about that, and it was a previously unrevealed ability. Okay, so best friend, Lindsay McCabe, aspiring actress. Yeah, so it says here that originally people saw Spider-Woman as running a good idea into the ground, and it looks like they thought of She-Hulk the same way. Okay, eventually, issue number 20, she got a career as a bounty hunter. Ew, I don't like where the new writer took it. So it says that the new writer basically abandoned all of the macabre themes and all of that, gave her a romantic interest who loved the costumed guys but was oblivious to her as a civilian, which is just gross. Yeah, and it looks like fans thought that the new writer had taken away everything that made the character special, which I agree on that count. So then it was after that writer left that a new writer came on and switched her profession to a private investigator. And the new writer had a fairly short term on it as well. Man, this is like tumultuous. And then it got canceled. There's a connection with Wolverine. She was part of the Avengers. Oh, she's from London. Okay, so it says, at a young age, her family moves to a lab built by her dad near Mount Woundagore, however you say that. In Transia? Is that a made-up place? Goodness, I hope that's a made-up place. I would be embarrassed. Yep, fictional European country. All right. Okay, gravely ill from uranium exposure. And to save her life, her father injects her with an experimental serum based on irradiated spider's blood. Don't like that, not gonna keep that. Requires a month's incubation. He places her in a genetic accelerator. Her mother dies. Her father leaves for the US, leaving his research partner to care for her. She ages at a decelerated rate while she's in the accelerator. That's interesting. So she's actually released from it decades later at 17 years old. So, okay, yeah, that's what I remember about it. She was stuck in some sort of machine and then left in there for years. She's captured by Hydra, Count Otto Vermis's leadership. He erases her memories, brainwashes her, recruits her as a Hydra agent. So that's ish what I'm going for. And it goes along with what I remember about it. I think I'm just gonna get rid of the love interest altogether. I don't really think she needs one. Maybe it's just my personal opinion, but I like leaving out romantic interest when you're first introducing a character, because a romantic interest can kind of subvert the strength of a female character. So love interest is gone. He doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so then later on in Spider-Woman Origin, they do away with the spider blood serum and the genetic accelerator elements, and decide that her mother's womb gets hit by a laser beam containing DNA traits of several different species of spiders, because that's a more reasonable. It's a spider laser beam, that's all she needed. Oh, and then they just fridge her parents completely. They disappear under mysterious circumstances. Start off with Hydra again. Mentored by Taskmaster. So a lot of different martial arts disciplines, 7 different fighting styles out of his arsenal. So she's a good fighter. And Otto Vermis, instead of being a leader, is a retired Hydra agent that she seduces so that she can find her mom. And he's an old dude. Wonderful. They changed the spelling of Miriam Drew's name, which is Spider-Woman's mom. This is the story where she was raised by cows, because she had a person who was human in appearance, but her name was Bova. And I think she was cattle. Okay, so that's where the cow thing came in. I knew she was raised by cows. I don't really like all of the memory implants and memory stuff that she goes through in these tellings of the story. So she's primarily in London for a lot of this, which explains why it would be Morgan Le Fay and the Brothers Grimm and all of these people. Okay, that makes sense to me. So Europe and specifically London. I wish I could go to places like that to do research on stories, but I mean, this is a fan fiction, so it's not like, even if I had the money, it wouldn't really make sense to spend it on something like this. Oh, group therapy. Group therapy is a good thing. And while she was receiving psychiatric treatment, that's when she developed a friendship with Lindsay McCabe. I kind of like the idea of her being cool. I like putting mental health concerns in my characters because it makes for just much more interesting stories. And because it's important to understand what it really looks like for people to experience mental health concerns, instead of getting all of this misinformation about what a person is like when they suffer from mental illness. Oh, she has a connection with Doctor Strange. Yeah, that would make sense because of all the magic in her story. I don't know how I'm going to deal with that. I don't know if I want it to be magic or if I want it to be, I don't know, different. But I mean, Doctor Strange, he does have like the sorcery thing going on. And she moves to San Francisco. Oh, and she has a crossover with Jessica Jones as well. Okay, so now we're starting to get into powers and abilities. That's exciting. Her palms and soles secrete a special fluid that allows her to cling to solid objects like a true spider. I don't know that I like that. First of all, she would have to go barefoot and would always have to have her hands uncovered in order to climb on anything, or she would have to like remove her... Does it do it all the time? Oh, that'd be so gross. What if you just got stuck on stuff all the time? They made fun of it in Into the Spider-Verse that he couldn't really control it all the time, but literally if it's like a secretion from your body, like sweat, you can't control your sweat. She's immune to poison. She might be dizzy by the first dose, but then she's completely immune afterwards. Oh, and she exudes a high concentration of pheromones that elicit pleasure and attraction from others. She uses a chemical perfume that renders the pheromones inert. That's completely opposite of how it was described earlier. Bioelectrical energy. Oh, kind of like Miles Morales, which she can discharge from her hands. She calls them venom blasts, and they have nothing to do with poison, but they cause pain and unconsciousness. I like Venom Blast. Venom Blast is a cool one. So she uses the flappy things on her suit to help her glide. She She loses her powers all the time. Superb hand-to-hand combat fighter. Boxing, capoeira, judo, tai chi, karate, fencing, as well as other weapons. I'm assuming guns. Trained in covert operations, stealth, espionage, information gathering. It's athletic, obviously. Speaks a bunch of languages. And she carries a Walter PPK. Alright, so let's take everything that I found here, put it into a sheet for her history and powers. I think I'm going to take a break here for the research because there's still a lot of research that I need to do, and I might have to split this into 2 videos just to make sure that I can get everything in there that I'm looking up and the thought process that I'm going through when doing it. So for right now, I'm going to take a break, and then I will come back later and finish up my research. Well, I feel like I have a wealth of new knowledge. How about you? Spider-Woman's powers turned out to be a lot more varied than I originally thought they were. Was there anything that surprised you about Spider-Woman's past? Let me know in the comments. And thank you so much for joining me today on CC Writes. I hope you enjoyed our time together. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you'll know when the next video comes out. And if you'd like to support my work, you can find my books on Amazon.com or consider donating to the CC Writes Patreon page. There are links in the description below. Finally, if you want more content from me, you can follow me on Twitter at CCLepkeWrites. Thanks for watching, and I will see you later.